Today I'm going to show you how to make an optical illusion using letters. I use the letters of my initials, Jessica Moore, so JM. You can use the initials of your first and last name too. Optical illusions play tricks on your eyes. In this example, the use of value and shading makes it look like the letters are popping out from the paper, but in reality, they are flat. For our materials, we'll need paper, pencil, an eraser, 2 or 3 colors of colored pencils or crayons, your choice, and then a black colored pencil or crayon. So let's first gather our materials. First, we're going to start by drawing the letters. So here I've written the letters J, M, just normally in capital letters, like you'd normally write them. So I'm going over it a little bit more here so you can see it. And then after, I'm going to make it into a bubble letter. So I'm tracing around the regular letter and I'm creating an outline. And I'm going slow, so I'm making sure that I like the shape. And it's okay to go back and erase it a little bit if you don't. I noticed the J, the curve wasn't how I liked it, so I'm changing it a little bit. And then the top was a little too thin, so I'm going to make that just a little wider so it matches the rest of the letter. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the M. So I'm working on one part of the letter at a time, so I make sure it looks the best that it can. When you do this, it's important not to press too hard with your pencil so that it's easier for you to erase. All right, so now I'm going to erase the letter on the inside, so the regular letter, and then I'm left with the bubble letter shape. Next, we're going to draw straight lines in the background around our letter. Notice I'm showing you some different angles you can use. You could do a vertical straight line, a horizontal straight line, or like I'm doing, a diagonal straight line. I like the diagonal because it just makes it a little bit different. When I'm drawing these lines, they are about a thumb width apart. And I'm stopping at the letter, so my line is not going through the bubble letter. It might help you to use a ruler like I am in this step, but if you don't have one, that's okay too. Just try your best to make it straight. So make sure to stop at the bubble letter. All right, so now that the straight lines are done, we're going to draw curved lines inside the bubble letters. So I'm connecting the straight lines in the background by creating a curved line. And this is going to add to the optical illusion. So it's going to make your letters appear round instead of flat. So each straight line has a curved line that connects it. And it's easier to work on one letter at a time. So go ahead and make sure you get all of the straight lines and you work on one line at a time so you don't miss any. All right, so now that our lines are done, we're gonna work on value and shading. So remember that you can choose colored pencils for this or crayons. I'm going to use both here in my example. And when you're using value, value means the dark amount or light amount that a color has. So you can have a very dark value, you can have a medium value, and you can have a light value. So here's an example of value shading. So dark is pressing really hard to get the darkest color out of your material. Medium, you're pressing a medium amount down on the material. And then light, you're very lightly pressing on it. So just like a whisper of the color. So dark, here's the color pencil example. Dark, medium to light. Sometimes you might need to go back over an area to blend it in a little bit more. One thing that you don't want to do is have dark value and then really light. You need to get that medium color to really make it work well together. So no dark to light like that. So it's like a gradual fade. Just takes a little bit of practice. Feel free to practice on the back of your paper like I did. And I'm going to choose to use crayons for mine. But colored pencil works really good too. So here I want to use dark value on the edges of all of the letters, or the edges of every letter. So I'm pressing hard on the edge of the letter, and then when I'm working on that background in that stripe, I'm using a very light value. I'm hardly pressing on my crayon. So I like to kind of outline the part of the letter that will be that color. So I made like a dark pink outline, and then I'm pressing hard right next to that outline. I'm getting a little bit lighter with my pressure, so it's a light pink in the middle. And then when you work on the background around the letter, same idea, but it's just in reverse. So press harder on the edge where the letter meets the background, and then get lighter, so you can have like barely light pink there. So outline the edge of the letter. So I pressed hard with this green crayon to make a dark edge, and then I'm doing my shading. Getting very light in the middle. And then when you work on the background, add a little bit of shading on the outside of the letter and get lighter to the edge of the paper. But remember, you want it to be a gradual fade, so the color isn't just dark to light. You want to get that medium color too. And let's make sure that we're using pattern here. So when you picked 2 or 3 colors, we're going to repeat that. So now I'm repeating my pattern. I'm starting with blue again. When we see optical illusions, they usually have some kind of pattern using a limited color palette. So not just any random colors, but the artist has carefully thought about what colors look good together and kind of limited their color choice. So use 2 or 3 colors. You can kind of start to see the optical illusion starting to take place. So the letters are starting to look like they are coming off of the page, even though it's a flat paper, because of the shading and because of the values that I'm using. So remember, outline the edge of the letter. Use a dark value near the edge of the letter, and then gradually you get lighter, so less pressure. And sometimes you have an interesting shape here, like I have that corner on the T, but I need to make sure that I have dark values on all the edges. So each part of your letter is going to be a little bit different, and some might be a little harder to find the shape, but you can do it. All right, let's speed that up a little bit and see this in fast motion. Now the last thing we're going to do is add a shadow to the right sides of our letters. So I'm kind of showing you with my finger here the right sides of the letters I have. And we're going to use a black colored pencil or crayon. If you used crayon, use a black crayon for this step. If you use colored pencil, use a black colored pencil. So keep the material the same. And I'm starting by outlining the edge, but notice that I'm just doing the right side where the shadow will be. So I'm kind of going over it with my crayon, which helps me find the shadow side. And then I'm doing a little bit of shading here. So kind of a little color back and forth, not too thick. And I want this part to be the darkest black, so I'm going back over it a little bit. And then on the edges of this, you want it to be like a very light gray, like it's kind of fading into the color of your background. So barely press down with your crayon or colored pencil. And some letters are going to have different areas that will be the right side. So like on the inside of the J here, that is also considered the right side. So just look at your letter and look at any parts that have a right side. All right, I think I'm almost ready to work on the M. Not quite. Okay, here we go. So I'm going ahead and outlining the right sides of the M. The M has kind of this zigzag shape, so I'm trying to find all of those right sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the shading. This step, you'll really be able to see your optical illusion pop out, so the letters should look 3D. Okay, well, I hope you had fun creating your optical illusion letters.